Serious question. What's your reason for playing your sport? Is it because of girls? Is it because of your confidence? Is it because it gives you a social group to hang out with? Is it because you get cool gear? You get to travel? What is that thing for you? For me, it's not a hard question at all. It's because it made my parents proud of me. Because I was a kid that, did horrible in school. I was a kid that your parents didn't want you to sit next to in class because I would have you talking and I was acting a fool in class. And I was a kid that my teacher actually moved my desk out in the hallway so I wouldn't be around any other students. I was a kid that failed the 6th grade, failed the 8th grade, put into special education classes. I was that kid that if I didn't get on the basketball, I wouldn't have graduated high school. I was that kid. And then I realized that playing basketball made my parents proud of me. They definitely wasn't proud of me because of my grades. I was the kind of kid that made all D's and F's in all my classes but PE. But a funny thing happened.
Laude.
When I was inching my way closer to graduating, when my eligibility was up, my 4 years were done, I realized that the game I love so much, being a student athlete, felt like I had a 200-pound backpack on. And all the student athletes had it on. But it just got to the point where I think I didn't notice it as much because I've had it on for so long and for so many years since I started playing basketball. My body got acclimated to it. But as that time got closer to me being done playing basketball in college, it started getting heavier. In fact, it got so heavy that it seemed like it exceeded 200 pounds. It seemed like it got to a point where it was 2,000 pounds, and I can feel the seams actually ripping to the point where it almost fell to the ground, but I grabbed it, right? I grabbed it so it wouldn't fall. So I have this weight, 2,000 pounds of weight, just holding it, right? But I see some other of my student athletes, they just open the backpack, unzip it, take the weight out, and put some things in there they want to put in there, like whatever they were majoring in, whatever they're interested in moving forward. If you haven't figured it out, that bag I'm holding is my identity and what I've been able to do as far as basketball is concerned. Because since I started playing the game of basketball, I started identifying with that. I started thinking that was the only thing that I could provide to the world is that thing. For me, it was basketball. For you, it may be football or baseball, whatever sport that you may be into. From the outside looking in, someone will say, well, Bel, if your arms are tired, just put down the weight. Just put down the backpack. There's no need for you to be holding it up. I mean, just put it down. And that's easier said than done because I couldn't. I've identified myself so much with this game that I couldn't even fathom putting down this weight, putting down my time as being a student athlete, closing that chapter and going on to the next. And some of you may still not understand it. But I think it has everything to do with my experience of being a student athlete, in particular, being a basketball player. You see, being a basketball player and being a black male go hand in hand. So much so that you feel almost like it's a rite of passage to be able to play basketball. I can't speak to anyone else's narrative, but for me, I felt like that it was a lot more pressure for me to play basketball than it was from other people that didn't necessarily look like me, from other people from other cultures or whatnot. I can't count on both of my hands how many times people asked me in college, was I going to go overseas and play basketball? Was I going to go to the developmental league for the NBA? Was I going to try to make it to the NBA? These are questions that I had quite regularly. And it wasn't because I just played a sport. It was because I'm black. And because I'm black, and you see those other individuals that occupy those positions in the NBA and the developmental league and overseas, majority of those individuals, maybe not international, but definitely NBA, semi-pro, domestically, all those are majority black males. So the people that were asking me these questions, it wasn't because they were being prejudiced or racist or anything like that. It's just that they can just use their eyes and see, well, there's a lot of people that look like you that dominate this profession. Is that something you want to go after? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think they realized this, and I don't think I realized that, but it put enormous amount of pressure for me to actually go in that route and go in that direction. See, some of my other teammates that came from other cultures, they didn't have that same pressure because when they looked on TV, they saw a lot more representation of people that look like them doing other things. They saw architects, they saw doctors, they saw physical therapists, they saw engineers. And since I didn't see that with such great regularity as they saw it, I wasn't as ambitious. It took me a while longer after I graduated, after I got my master's degree, to realize this one thing of why I want you to watch this video over and over again until you realize this. I am more important than just what I can provide on the basketball court. It took me a while to realize that I can bring more to the table than dribbling between my legs. It took me a while to realize that I'm more valuable than just dunking the basketball. It took me a while to realize that though I can use that as a tool, it's not the end all be all. And I say all this stuff for a number of reasons. One, because I want you to know this. No matter what color you are, I want you to know this. That whatever sport you're playing doesn't define you. You can bring more to the world than that. You may have to start from ground zero and work your way up and figure it out. Say, for instance, I edit all my videos. I'm going to edit this video before I put it up. I taught myself how to do that. Was it tough starting out? Yes. Kind of like when you started out making layups. When you first started off making layups, that wasn't easy for you. You had to figure it out. A lot of you were too small to make a layup. You shot the ball. So you should have called it shot-ups instead of layups. You couldn't do it. But guess what? You did it over and over again, and you figured it out. The same thing with any other skill set. So one, I want you to realize that you're not defined by your sport. Two, I want you to know that you can do whatever thing you want to do as long as you apply yourself, much like you did with your sport. You can do whatever you want to do. You put into practice, you can do it. Three, don't wait on other people to look like you to do the thing that you want to do. If you want to do it, then do it. Four, I would say, don't feel pressure to perform. Don't feel pressure to go into a field just because there are other people who look like you in that field. Maybe you're going to be the first in that field that looks like you. That's cool as well. And five, I would say, you're not a failure if you don't continue to play basketball, whether that be professionally or whether that be in college. You're not a failure if you don't play in college. You're not a failure. You just chose a different route. The goal of this channel primarily is not only to help student athletes navigate through college basketball, high school basketball, and not only that, but also for the individuals that don't play any sports anymore but want to utilize those same tools they use while being a student athlete. They can use that outside of being a student athlete. And we want to bridge that gap and help them do that as well. So you don't have to be an active participant as far as being a student athlete to use some of the things that you've learned when you were in middle school, high school, prep school, junior college, four-year school, NAI. It doesn't make a difference. I've said a lot tonight. Some of it may have gone over your head, but if you don't catch any of it, catch one thing. You're not defined by your sport. And you're not a loser if you don't continue playing the sport that you grew up in. Maybe it's just served its purpose. There's nothing wrong with that.
Laude.